willing to share your practice with me. And if you're a first time here, welcome. Please subscribe to the channel and like us on Facebook. You can follow me on social media. And we also have a private group called the Spiritual Liberation Challenge group. And it's a great group because when you're in there, people are always posting this art therapy and motivational quotes. And it's really great because that I talk about today for this message is you need staying on course. This is what this message is today, staying on course. And I'm going to start with a little story about how I want to explain this, because if everybody knows that I grew up in the Midwest, and there's really no beaches, but there's these lakes, and of course I love the water. I love the swimming, and we were a member of the a pool club. It was like a club. We're part of a club, and there was a swim club in there, and it just was really exciting. And if you remember how the swimming pool is, when you're little and you're learning how to swim, that pool is very, very scary. And you feel safe as long as you can touch your feet on the bottom of the pool, right? And you always want to go where the big kids go, and you want to go out to the deeper, but you know that once you get to that 5 foot or 6 foot, it's over your head, and you got to learn how to swim. You got to tread water, and so it can be pretty scary. A lot of times when people are splashing around, you kind of can get, when you're playing and stuff, you kind of can forget where you're at in the pool, right? Because it slides down, and so you all of a sudden start sliding when you're walking on the surface in the water, and the water has currents, right? And people are pushing these currents back and forth, and you're kind of trying to be this little girl, use your almighty little strength to stay on where you're at so you can play and around where your space is. But sometimes it can pull you further and further. And when it gets to the point where all of a sudden you're on your tippy toes, and all of a sudden there's nothing underneath you, and you're like, oh, and you go down underneath the water, and it's so scary, and you're splashing like and then you get all scared and panicky, right? And so you're like looking to find a way to get to that safe spot so you can touch your feet on the surface again, right? And when you get to the point where you get taller, you're like, oh, this is no big deal anymore. Then you're like, okay, what's the next step? You want to go to the deep end where they have it roped off, and the diving boards are there, and you're like, ooh, and that's deep. That's like way over you, and there's no way you could touch your feet ever. You got to be treading your water all the time. Well, think about that, like we would always go on vacation, when your family, you always would go to vacation. Our family went to the beaches, like Florida or Myrtle Beach or something. And I remember how exciting it was. I loved that. That's a bigger pool. That's an infinity type pool. And so, when you're walking out as a family onto the beach, you find your spot, you put your blanket out, your little cooler and your suntan. You get your little lawn chairs, and then you place your umbrella. That way, everybody knows where you're at in case you go play in the sand or in the ocean. You can find. So we run out into, we're like, oh yay! These waves are bigger wave. Like this is a really big pool, and it's the same type of thing because when the waves are coming in and you're walking out into the ocean, the waves come in and they just kind of pull you out into this deep, deep, large infinity of type of pull. And then um, the current could pull you just like it would be the pool. And I remember one time I was playing and I was just kind of swimming around in the shallow area of the ocean. It wasn't too big a waves, but we're watching the waves and when they come crashing in and you go underneath them and trying to get on top of the wave so you can body wave back into the beach, right? Well, then, I didn't realize it, but I had got into a spot on the ocean where it had a little sinkhole type deal, and the current, it sucks you under and it pulls you way, way far out away from where you are. And that's scary because a lot of people can drown. But that's what happened, and it just pulled me so far away. And when I finally popped back up, I'm like, whew. And I was looking around trying to find out where I was. I didn't know where I was. I was down, way down further in the beach, and I was looking and looking, and I'm scared, and like, where's my family? Where's everybody at? And I finally got on the beach, and I'm, okay, left or right? Where are they at? And I'm looking and looking and looking, and I'm just like freaking out, right? And all of a sudden, I see the umbrella, where it's down there, and I'm like, whoa, and I'm like, what a relief. Okay, I know where I'm at. Have you ever felt like that? Everybody's gone through that in their life, haven't they? Where you've been in a spot, or if you've been hiking, and all of a sudden you're just that feeling, or driving. Do you know what I'm talking about? But then when you find that one thing that pinpoints you to where your spot is, your destiny, where your safe place is, then you're like, whew. But then that kind of tells you about a lot of things when it comes to staying on the course. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because, so, that is kind of like life right now. And, you feel, you got to have that safety thing. Everything's okay, you see, and then you realize that there are currents that are in our lives that slowly pull us out. Maybe subtly, maybe forcefully, playing with our mind. And all the way down into different areas that maybe just are things that we're not realizing or choosing is just pulling us in these undercurrents of life. And see, that's what I want to talk about when it comes to staying on course. Because life can drag us off and get us off course from where we're supposed to be at. You know it? So good. I remember I grew up, my whole life and being pretty disciplined and understanding and always doing the right thing, stuff like that. And I also grew up in church and learned a lot where doing the right thing, being disciplined, making sure you're putting yourself in good areas of your life, that's always something that is kind of, where you stay on course, getting into a club where it shows you how to be the graciousness. It's just staying on that course, so to speak. Now, I know that, like, many out here, and tell you another story where, when it comes to life, it can be a lot of things, like from understanding how you can get so far away from the higher power, the within, who you are as a woman or as a man. And, I know just from my own experiences and other people, other women who have talked about things that they've just, that when they were on a course in their life, say like, for example, when a lady spoke about her marriage, and um, it was so happy. It was just, the course was great. They were just in sync. They were on the same wavelength and everything. And then all of a sudden, they began to argue, and until you know, till then they were happy and they would see an eye to eye, and they were on the same way. They just connected. They would even know what they were thinking, know what they desired. Basically, sometimes even finish each other's sentence. And it was just this, look, it was just, comfortable, safe, just wonderful, comfortable space and a unity. And she said that basically they were so happy at first for a while, and then all of a sudden things changed and they drifted apart and things were changing. It's about we separated things, doing separate things, never being around each other, just aren't the same, she would state. And now, you see, those are the results of the undercurrents that I'm talking about, that are trying to destroy. And they're trying to destroy our life to get us off course. And those are the things that we need to pay attention to in our life, because they can't be so subtle and we don't even realize it, and then boom, we're hanging out in the wind somewhere. They're happening. Undercurrents can be many different types of things in our life. Am I right? So good. They're always happening in subtle ways around, and it could be because we're around the wrong people, the wrong friends, going places, being with, around the wrong people, the wrong friends, basically, or the values. They just are not in the same wavelength, that so to speak. And I want to kind of explain to you that it says that there's, if you ever realized and really studied on spirituality, you just know that bad company corrupts good characters. All right? And it actually says in spirituality type of that you don't want to be misled. Don't be misled by these so-called undercurrents, whether they're things or they're people. And it's a character, so to speak, that has a bad attitude, and can be selfishness, it can be laziness, it can be anger, it can be outside influences. These are the things that you want to understand, that basically it separates families. These are the things that can cause us to lose good values, good jobs, successful careers. You see, if we would have paid attention maybe to where you were in relation to, say, like, understanding the safe spot, like I presented as like a connection, like an umbrella, or the good book, or maybe just coming back to, say, like our spiritual vibration support, or keeping up with that. We need to find that if we would have kept our position in life, or staying on course, these undercurrents were there, right? And they were dragging us off, so to speak. Why? Because undercurrents will always have that tendency to drag us, just like anything, peer pressure, just things that are not what we would say as good values or the right thing. So, but, we can make necessary adjustments and we can keep a balance, But we got to make sure that we always get back in line and stay the course. Because, see, I could, just like you or anybody, position myself back to where I needed to be. And I think that if anything happens in your life, also that you can find that umbrella, find that, whether find it's a color or it's a book or it's our group, you know, make it a beautiful color red umbrella. Just remember, post something, have something that brings you back, that makes you remind you that, oh, okay, that was an undercurrent. I'm back. I popped up and I'm back and I'm here in my spot and I'm back on my course. I'm going to stay that path, walk the path. And that way you can understand that, because things are going to happen in our life. And I'm going to give you something that is a story that's also where a spiritual prophets at one time, I had read this. This was and my when I studied the divinity types of subject. There were there's always prophets you hear about. Whether they call them prophets, then they call them psychics today. Some people might think that I'm kind of like that, but it's I'm a metaphysician. I look at more lines, energy medicine, so to speak, and um, prophets back then in the olden times in spirituality or religion or whatever because spirituality and religion are different. But say if you had a religion of some sort that you're involved with, or you protect, like if you're Methodist or if you're Catholic or if you're Buddhism or whatever, if you're connected to that, then you would look at your religion and you would see that there's a lot of stories that are about some prophets, right? Well, in spirituality, it's more of a non-judgmental way. It's an interfaith type thing. So you could say a psychic or a or a clairaudience or a clairvoyant or it could be a healer of some sort, a holistic healer. Just whatever your areas. There's always some way where they have a gift. They have a gift of a sight seeing, so to speak, or vision, and some of us have that, and actually we all have it if we don't realize it. We call it the intuition. But let me just show you that some of these would predict a birth, a man. They would predict something that's amazing, destiny, and it had a supernatural strength about it. And you probably heard. I mean, there's celebrities like that they can predict. Some are like that, like Warren Buffett for the stock market or something. It just depends on the area of your life. But it's a supernatural way that has been given to them, and they're talented and they're positioned to where they can help guide you and understand where these undercurrents are. If you're in undercurrent, and help you understand how to get back on that path, whatever your goal is. Or maybe you need help with finding who you are, what you are as a destiny. And so when it comes to things like with what I offer and tools, because that's our expertise, just like if you don't know anything about your heart or your blood pressure, you go to an expert or a cardiologist and they can guide you a little bit more about understanding how your heart is. It's the same way in your spirit. So if you're saying, well, I don't know my life path, Dr. Traci K, and can you help me understand what my life path would be? And with an expert, would just like myself as a metaphysician, can guide you on what your life path is by doing some analysis. It's the same way with understanding your energy circuits or your heart or the thing like how you operate or what you're ruled by. So, when it comes to things in our life that are thrown us as this undercurrent, like the pandemic or a stock market crash or a separation in your marriage or family, and there's separation or there's just turmoil. There's these undercurrents. It could be grief, people that you've lost, grieving, mourning, losses, anything, business situations. These undercurrents, that's what they are about. But that doesn't mean you can't pop up and you can have this, you can find that strength in your spirituality to be able to not allow those currents to take power over you, where you can manipulate your arms and your legs, your body, become empowered and in the core within yourself to be able to stand strong and still those current waters. Or, better yet, get out of the current and walk on firmly on the sand and create and put your footprints in the sand so you make your mark. And that way, those undercurrents are way out there. And the only time that you have to deal with them is if you take, and it's part of what you do in your life, because you're going to have to take risk. If you want to learn how to swim, you're going to have to take that risk and go into a deeper water and with the current. If you're wanting to be able to start your own business, so to speak, you're going to have to step into that, and there might be some undercurrents you go through, but it comes like anything. When it pulls us out, what happens, right? What happens when the waves come? They pull us out, right? But then they lift us up and out way high, like the waves. And they come crashing in, which is like an which right there is empowerment. And that's what I mean by it's okay to stay off that, once you get under the undercurrents, because, and believe it or not, it could be a good time. It doesn't have to be panicky. It doesn't have to be frightening. You can ride the wave, baby. Yeah, totally. Like ride them waves. So, and then there's always going to be little spots, like a spot that's going to be higher so you can put your feet on the ground and still stand in those currents. I'm like, good, so good. Come on. Let's hear it. So good. Claim it. Say, yeah, so good. So, I want you to understand that when these times are tough like they are, realign yourself. Learn how to take and use these small things that maybe aren't being taken care of that can maybe do some damage. And don't allow to have those words that are thrown that are disrespectful in relationships or disrespectful in your career. Things that you want to see that you say to yourself, look, I'm just letting this go. I'm letting the current take it away. So it's a little steam. So it's a little pulling and pushing. They know I love them. They know that they deserve that they shouldn't have done or said what they did or so more. And see, we can make excuses for these little things all day long. Showing up to work late or thinking well, my boss isn't there. He doesn't even whatever come in till such a time. Taking advantage here and there on areas of your life. But when it comes to a goal in your life, you have to understand that you need to be aligning yourself to focus and stay on that course in order for you to move from that position. Because that subtleness, they like to cause us, those undercurrents, that's what they do. And what happens is someone can move into that position, and until you refocus and realign yourself, it, it, it's never too late. It really isn't. To correct anything that has been done in your life, or what you've said or hurt people or things like that. And you need to listen. Listen to what your spirit's saying, because it's about setting your mind on things above, not on earthly things. You know what that means, right, guys? It means set your mind on the higher vibe. Set your mind on things of value, of importance. The goals you have, the things that are enriching in a good, loving, caring, positive way that gives your destiny to receive, so that you can receive all the gifts and glory. Am I right? Maybe you don't see it right now. Maybe you don't understand it. Maybe you get a lot of no's. Maybe you're not getting all those subscribers or likes or followers, or maybe you're not understanding why you're not getting any type of engagement and things. Don't let that's an undercurrent. Because eventually you will be pulled up by keeping on that course, keeping on that focus. Don't give up on yourself. Keep that choosing joy, choosing forgiveness, and that's going to happen is that pulling is going to not pull you under with them. It's going to pull you up and way up high above them. Am I right? Oh, get a good, breathe that in, breathe that in, breathe that in. So good, so good, so good. Because it might not be now, it might not be, maybe it's like, well, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Why can't why doesn't anybody see me? Why doesn't anybody hear me? Why is that over this? Be patient, like I said. Stay focused, realign yourself. Don't let those undercurrents drag you down. And set your mind, set your intention. Mark that marker. Use an umbrella. Use your crystals. Use your candle. Use your anything that you have that knows will give you that safe space to come back, like your meditations or your journaling, your music. Whatever inspires you to stay on focus. When you feel like you're being pulled down, pull yourself and get back into that pinpoint. Find that umbrella, red umbrella. Find that workout. Find that meditation. Find that spiritual group. Find that sport and bring back and get in focus and stay on course. Right? Oh, I think that's a good message today, everybody. Don't you think? Because you're not a failure. If you've sinned, move out of that. Forgive yourself. Ask forgiveness. Stay grateful and thankful. And get out of that direction. There is no mistake that you have made, because you will overcome that. And you are loved. There is an everlasting love for you. There is support. You just don't realize it. So just stay in place, stay on course, stay focused, set your mind, ask for forgiveness, work on amends, do your part, and don't let yourself get caught up around and being with those undercurrents in your life, okay? Thank you so much. I think that's good. Let's all breathe that in. Oh, so good. Now put your hands together to your heart center. Release out. Lift your hands up to your forehead. shine your light out to others,